Hello, everyone. Welcome to another day of Charmed Chats and Happily Ever After Sprints, where we get a chance to talk to authors all month about writing fantasy romance, play some games, and spend some time writing. I'm Shannon. I write under the pen name of SC Huston. You're here on my channel where I publish content about my publishing and my self-publishing journey and my writing, and do weekly writing sprints. I'm also part of the Self-Publishing Tips and Tricks podcast with Ben Pick from Running to Write and Morgan Lee. And I'm also the founder and conference chair of the AuthorTube Writing Conference, now heading into its third year. Besides what I do here on YouTube, I am a fantasy romance author and YA fantasy author with a passion for writing about broken characters who have faced adversity to become better versions of themselves. And there may or may not be dragons, but there's always love to find. And today we are joined by Carrie, who writes under the pen name of CK Sorens. And I will read her bio. We're going to spend some time learning about her, but CK Sorens is a USA Today bestselling author of 18 Wishes, the Tri-Marked series, and her short story collection, Vision of Misfortune. She's also a writing coach at Quill and Cup with a focus on mindset, craft, and creating a sustainable career. So welcome to my channel, Carrie. I think that's one of the shortest bios I've had so far. So if you want to add anything else, take a moment to tell us more.
Oh yeah, I don't like writing bios, so shortly into the point. Yeah. So I had the privilege of publishing in November of 2020 as my first book. But I've been writing forever. And I was just really excited to jump into indie. And I'm sorry, I got distracted by the chat.
Sorry, I was writing the chat to say hello to people.
And so yeah, when I finally jumped in and I found this Quill and Cup writers community, and it was like fantastic. And so I've been really involved with that. I am very involved on Instagram. I have a wonderful community over there, and we share tips and tricks and books and TBRs and all of that stuff. So I don't know, I guess I'm low key, but I'm still working on getting my books out there.
Awesome. And then I did put the website for CK Sorens for Carrie in the chat. It's pinned at the top, and then I just dropped her Instagram as well, so you guys can go and follow her. And I put it in the chat already, but I'm gonna put it out there again that the StreamYard is acting up again. I have no comments that I can click on the back end here. So I'm just gonna run through and say hello to everyone who came by. And if it'll let me, it's not going to the top. So I can't quite see Brianna's or her message. It says, "Hi Shannon, I'm early, but going to do my workout and shower before you start. Hit the like button." I appreciate that, Brianna. Thank you. And that's the book Travert. Rachel says, "I can catch at least half of this one." Well, awesome. And if you guys didn't know, Rachel just put out a video. I think she's starting up her channel a little bit, but going to all these like little libraries in her neighborhood. And I thought that was really interesting. We don't have any here. I want a little library by us. They're like the little stands on the side of the road that you can go pick a book out. It's free, and you put a book in there for other people to get. I think it's a really cool idea. And then Vanessa came by. Hello, how are you? Elaine, hello. Elaine's our last author coming on, and Rachel was our first author. And people saying hello. And then Katie, hello, welcome. And she's our author that's coming this Sunday. Musical Maggie, hi Shannon, I'm at the library with some obscure books for my research. Yeah, what kind of obscure books are you looking for? We were just talking about obscure texts on the back end here. So you said you were reading Marcus Aurelius, which I was like, is that the Roman guy?
It is. He's an old one of the last Roman emperors, actually, and he is known for his Stoic writings, and that's one of the things that I decided is going to be on my learning list this year is Stoicism. So yeah, went to the source.
Wow. It does have me intrigued, but I already have way too many. So there's like 22 authors coming on this month, and a few of them I've already read their books, but then the other ones I'm like trying to at least touch them and read a little bit of them. And I was like, that's on top of doing a Black Author Tuber readathon. So I was like, I have too many books this month, but maybe next month. Hello, Alice. How are you? Just a repeat for those who've come in, because a couple people have come in. I don't have access to comments on the back end of StreamYard. It's messing up again. So I can't click on anybody's comment to show up on screen, but I appreciate you guys stopping by. And Rachel says, "Oh, I had to drive 28 minutes to get to the nearest one because farm lot, LOL." Yeah, I don't want to drive that long. I probably could. If I went a half hour, I would reach a big city. So Christina, hello. Hi, hope everyone is well. Just popping in to show some love to the like button. Don't know if I'll get to do anything today as we're fighting the plumbing and have people here to help us. I'm sorry to hear that. All right, well, let's go ahead. If you guys have any questions for the author, you can drop them in the chat with a Q. That'd be so helpful, especially since I cannot click on comments in the back end because there's no comments to click on. It would be very helpful for me if you guys can put a Q in front of your questions and we can ask. And let me put the book that we'll be talking about up on screen. Now, this is one that I started at the beginning of the year, and then I hit, those who are my writing sprints, you've heard me say this, but I hit a reading slump where I just couldn't pick up these books and I just could not continue. It wasn't the books. It was just like me. I couldn't continue reading for some reason. So I did start reading back into it again yesterday and this morning. It's a really good book, and we're going to ask some questions about it. So, but first, what drew you to write fantasy in the fantasy romance genre? And I know this is your only book, right, in fantasy romance? Yeah.
Yes. I don't know if you know Catherine D. Graham, but she is also a very supportive indie author. And she and I have been friends for a while, and she was like, hey, we're going to do this box set. Do you want to come and do this paranormal romance box set with me? I was like, sure, that sounds like a lot of fun. And I had no plans for this story whatsoever, none, because I was like, right here, these are my tri-marked books. I was planning on writing book 3. And I was like, oh, you know what, though? These are pretty dark fantasy, urban fantasy. And so I was like, well, maybe I'll just write something a little bit more fun. This is still a little bit dark, just to be clear. And apparently I can't get away from that. Like some people can't get away from putting romance in their books. And so, yeah, it was unplanned. I pulled the idea from archives and totally reworked it. And I fell in love with the world. I just like was so excited when I matched genies with Las Vegas magic and working that all together. I started with a different magic system, and as I was writing, realized that chakras were going to be my correct magic system. And I was just, yeah, it was a journey to get this one done, and it was the one that ended up with the box set on the USA Today bestseller list.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I don't know Catherine D. Graham personally. I have heard of her. I've seen her posts. I follow her on Instagram. So, yeah, don't know her personally, but I do know who you're talking about with that. I was really sucked into this world from the very beginning. When I came across it, I don't even know how I came across it. Maybe it was through Catherine's Instagram. I might have seen it there, but I was pulled in because this is a different idea. So it is contemporary. I'm not really drawn to more contemporary stories. I like the more epic fantasy setting, but it has genies, well, jinn, but it's kind of, there's a distinction made between genies and jinn in the story. And it does use a magical system that relies on the chakras. And I thought, well, this is really unique and I really like this. So, yeah, I was definitely drawn in, and I still am sucked into it as I'm reading it. So.
Yeah, so the jinn through the chakra system are connected to universal energy, and you're able to use this universal energy to create illusions that humans think and interact with as if they're real. And that's very powerful on its own, but it is still just an illusion. Now, they can be trapped by a different type of spell and become genies. And when they are genies, they don't have as much freedom with their power, but their wishes at this point actually become beyond illusion. They become real.
Reality.
And so genies are incredibly powerful in potential, but they all have different contracts with their
the person who trapped
slavery, really, right? Yeah, who they're connected to. And so in 18 Wishes, Isra is tied to one family, and she's only allowed to come out when the eldest son turns 18 years old. And if she wants to free herself, she has to grant 18 wishes in that year. Mm-hmm. But the challenge is that she doesn't only free herself, she frees a bunch of other creatures that she doesn't want to.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's interesting, especially bringing in Jan, because isn't Jan from the same system set up with chakras and stuff like that? Yeah, so Jan, they are like the number one, like grant, like I don't quite understand their position. I know that they're part of the what was the name of it first? It's like 7 people still there, or 7 of them still, but I don't remember what you called it.
Yeah. Neither
Um,
do I actually. But no, so
the top god, basically.
yeah,
But
exactly. The first one made, therefore the most powerful.
yeah, there you go. So, and that they, involve themselves with this, and Isra, right? Isra, I said it
Hmm.
right. Okay, so
Hmm.
Isra started off as well. Her family started off as humans, but they become part dragon,
Mm.
basically.
They didn't start out as humans. They were dragon people
So
from
then
the
they were,
beginning.
oh, then they were spliced with the dinosaur DNA to make like these
Yeah.
dragon people.
Yeah.
Okay, so they started off as dinosaurs and then spliced with human DNA. Well, I thought it was the
Hmm.
other way around. So, anyways, I think that was interesting. But
Well, yeah, I mean, chicken before the egg, probably on that one.
but they're hunters of these genies, and then she gets trapped as a genie. So she didn't start off. That's not how her life was. So she knows what it's like to have been, more, mortal versus being this genie with this power. So I find that the economy is pretty interesting, especially when you're in her point of view. And I love all the sensory stuff because she has been trapped away when there's no firstborn son of the Wicker family born, she has to wait for the next one to be born before she can come out. Then she's like trapped in like this nothingness. And so she has no sensory input whatsoever. And now that she's out, and it's the first time in over 100 years that she's been out, now she's like taking in all this sensory input and loving all of it. And so I really love that. Was really, I love the way you wrote that in there. So.
Oh, thank you.
Uh, all right. So, part of the book description, and I haven't got to this part yet, so I'm interested on this, but part of the book description says fade to black with a dash of spice. And I'm curious what that dash of spice looks like to you for your book.
So for this book, it means that there is some heavy petting. And in the first scene is like it's about thighs and stuff, right? And then there is the second scene, and Isra is able to shift in shape,
Hmm.
and she shifts from a female form to a male form, and so there's a little play there too, because Jacoa is actually pansexual, and so for him it's not a big deal, but he just also didn't expect her to do this. So so there is that would be the spice part are these different moments that lead up to the fade to black.
Gotcha. Yeah, I knew right away when the first time he meets her, she's in a male form, and it says that her hair was black and fades to white tips. And then when you see her, when you're in her point of view later, and she goes into a human form, she has black hair with white tips. I'm like, oh, she was the bartender, but I kind of figured that might be it because he did two wishes because he's trying to figure out where's my genie at. I know she's supposed to show up. Where's she at? And so on the second wish, he says, I wish this party never happened and everybody's gone. But I kind of thought that, okay, it has to be someone that's nearby at least. And I kind of thought it was the bartender at that time. But then, yeah, so I think that's cool. But that did set up because he was attracted to the bartender and the way he looked, who is Isra. So, or Isra. I don't know if I'm saying it right.
Isra, you're good.
All right, there are some questions from the chat that I would like to ask. The first one from Rachel: being a more recent author in this strange day and age, what was your biggest unexpected hurdle, and what did you think it would have been prior to publishing?
um so when I first started, there's just so much to learn. I'm still learning, and I think the biggest hurdle for me that still is the whole marketing
Hmm.
portion. And I feel like this is a very common thread, but this is not this is not new to me. But especially as authors who, come into this from the art perspective and don't have very much business background, it's a huge hurdle, and it's really difficult to weed out the watered down advice from the actual actionable advice.
Hmm.
And so that's a lot of what I'm actually working through in part this year: stoicism and marketing. So,
Well, what doesn't help is that marketing is constantly shifting and what works and
yep.
what doesn't work, and new things and old things coming back to new things. And yeah, I've been noticing that quite a bit. So,
Yeah, but I definitely suggest for new authors to not just spend time on craft and figuring out the steps to publishing whatever you choose to however you choose to do that, but also spend time looking at some marketing principles and business principles, and just, at least wet your feet before you get in, so that as you learn, you have this base of knowledge.
Yeah, awesome advice. Okay, Rachel's asked this question to one of my other authors. I was like, this is a hard question because there's two parts to it. So what was the hardest part of your favorite book to write? So first you have to figure out what's your favorite book, and then the hardest part that was to write it.
Okay. This is my Trimark series, so this is more urban fantasy. This may or may not. I'm leaving this open because it's one of my pull you along things. It may or may not have a romance in here, and it may or may not be who you have shipped together. But Ember's mom is named Susan, and she has a mental illness, and because of their situation, they're kind of cut off from society. So she has no support. And so actually, like, her interactions were some of the hardest to write, because I wanted to be true to the character. I wanted to show how this affected Ember, but also it's just like it was, it was really hard to put to it's like it I'm putting her through that, right? You
Yeah,
have the
right.
psychology of doing that you're putting her through that. So that was probably in and that the one specifically is in Trimarked. It comes at the very, very end, what happens. And so I don't want to spoil it,
Yeah.
but Susan ends up doing something to protect herself over her daughter.
Mm,
And so yeah, that was really tricky. But I do, like I said, I do tend towards dark themes. I think I like to highlight them for awareness and for the fact that there are people going through these things. And if we can see ourselves in fiction, no matter what that looks like, then it helps us and cope in the real world. At least that's what these type of books did for me when I was growing up.
yeah, I can see that. And Rachel, I know I had mentioned something about your question, but I really appreciate the questions. And I think it is a good question. It's just a hard question to answer. And Lane says, what are your favorite scenes to write?
Um, my favorite scenes to write are snappy back and forth debate,
Mm,
especially with smart characters.
yeah.
Like, like if you really know your character's perspective and they are brilliant in their own right, like having this back and forth um, argument is actually the argument is usually the first thing I see when I get inspired for a book. And so they are my favorite scenes, not only to write the first time, but to keep going back and revising and sharpening that dialogue and making sure the tags are right and their actions and their personalities shine through.
Yeah, I used to actually use that as a way to get to learn my characters. Like I would throw a couple characters in a
Mm.
scene and give them something to argue over just to see who they were and what they would say and how they respond. And most of those scenes never make it into any writing, but I would do it as just as an exercise. So I think
Oh,
that's
that's
really
fun. Yeah.
uh, Rachel. She's the ultimate cosmic power and itty bitty living space.
Yes.
Talking about the genie. And then Leslie came in. Hello, bookskers and purrs.
Actually,
Never let them
and my first gin, I made blue in
good.
honor of Genie from Aladdin.
Okay. I wondered. I did wonder how much of that might have played in, but then I don't know how much, Aladdin might have been pulling from their own sources that we have. So
Actually, I got a lot of my inspiration from Muslim jinn lore,
yeah.
and and I watched a lot of Aladdin.
Joanne came in. Hello, how are you? People say hello. Okay, another question here. What, in your opinion, makes for a great or memorable kiss scene?
Good question. So for me, it is I think the best romances are about connection. So if I can show that connection through the body language, through eye contact, through that, the brief little pause to make sure we're both here for the same reason, mingling of breath, um, just I think a good kiss scene shows that connection and plays the pause and really explores it and like gives you the anticipation and the knowledge that this is really going to happen.
That was really well done in 18 Wishes because I haven't got to a kiss scene, but the first time that he sees her in her human form and he makes a wish to make her stay in her human form so he know and to stay by him, right? They get really close together and they share a breath, and it's kind of like this connection is made. And I think it's a magical thing. It hasn't been explained yet, but I'm sure it's going to be. So, yeah, I thought, oh wow, that's really cool. All right. So who is your favorite fantasy romance author? I don't know if you read a lot of fantasy romance, but
I do. Okay, currently Abby Fox.
oh,
Okay.
okay.
She's coming on later this
She's
month.
coming on.
Yeah, I love, 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 love her stuff. I will say, I always am afraid I get her name wrong, but I don't think I do. Sharon Green is who I started reading romantasy with like 20 years ago.
Oh.
And it was back when romantasy was not a thing. You were either romance or you were fantasy.
Right.
And her first couple books started out as fantasy in the series that I loved. But by the time I got to like the third or fourth book, I can't exactly remember, it switched to romance. And I was still in high school and my mom wasn't letting me buy romance books. So it was kind of like my workaround. Romantasy was my workaround, right? And then they took it away from me. So I had to wait a couple more years to finish that. But because of that story, because I had to wait so long for, and I honestly, it's just like I remember that it was a portal fantasy and with kind of fated matches, but it was like this is a possible fated match, so we're going to throw you into this weird situation and see if you actually work it out, but it is your choice at the end. And so I really enjoyed that series. And yeah, Abby Fox, currently I love her. Hers is a fae world, and where magic is like only kept within the select few, and those select few are actually bred together in order to keep magic in these tight lines. And so her series looks at that at who doesn't want to do that, who gets abused in the system, and like what else is going on in this world that pulls them out of it and makes things more important. So it's just yeah, it's a great series. I absolutely love it, and I'm on her list for her ARC, and fingers crossed that
you'll get it.
Yeah.
All right, and so the last question I have for you, we'll check the chat again to see if anyone asked any other questions, but what is your favorite fantasy or romance trope and why?
Okay, my favorite, I have to say it's the soulmate one, and a lot of my writing themes are about fighting fate, about fate setting out this path. And Abby, actually, this is one of the reasons why I love her book, because hers is also, it has soulmates in it. And so I like, but all that said, I love the soulmate trope. I'm really mad at the Vampire Diaries TV show because it ruined the soulmate trope that was in the book series. And I just couldn't get over it enough to love Damien, who was the better vampire in the show. But I am just so tied to this soulmate trope. I do believe that if you are made to be together, then you are made to be together, and the world finds a way to help you see that. So.
I also like that the soulmate trope. I actually played around with it in the world that I'm creating with my fantasy romance series, where you have soulmates, which is two people who naturally gravitate towards each other, and they find each other, they want to stay together. But then I also have what I'm calling the soul half, which is a soul that decides to split and try different lives, but they find each other, they can't split. They have to stay together if they find each other. So I've been playing with that with some of my stories. So
that's fun.
Yeah. So I never thought about that as like a trope that I really liked, but I'm playing with it, so I must like it.
Yeah.
So let's check the chat and see if there's any questions. Let's see, people just saying hello and talking about job interview. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Elizabeth. She says
Yeah.
her job interview didn't go well today and didn't
Mm.
get the job. Yep, keep on trying. I'm sure you'll have it. Only good questions. I only have good questions, Rachel says. All right, I don't see any questions. If you guys do have any questions, make sure you drop them in the chat. I do not have access to my comments back end of StreamYard. It's still not working right since yesterday. I'm not sure what's going on there. So make sure you put a Q in front of your question and we will come back to it. We're going to move into the fun and games. And let me take this off here. And we are doing Would You Rather, this is a fan favorite. So we've done a few different ones, and this is one that a lot of people have really liked. So, and I came up with like, I don't know, 33 questions. Kiko, remember, she's not here yet, but she told me yesterday, you have 33 questions. But I went through like, I don't know, half of them with the first author. I was like, man, I'm about to come up with more questions. But I had fun because none of my questions had genies or jinns or anything like that in them. And so I had fun making a whole bunch of them last night. So
Nice.
all right, with those in the chat, you are welcome to also tell us which one you would rather as we talk about what we like to do. Let me move the chat over here. Okay, so the first one is, would you rather have a jinn grant you a single wish with no strings attached, or have the ability to grant your own minor wishes, but with unpredictable outcomes each time?
I'm a control freak. I have to go with the first one. Like the second one appealed to me until you said unknowable.
Yeah. But I wonder if you could like tweak it. Like if you do a wish and it's unpredictable and like, yeah, probably not. You probably can't figure out why or how it would become unpredictable.
Right.
So, yeah, I think, I'm a bit of a control freak too. So I'd probably go with the first one. Elizabeth says, I would take the big wish. All right, next is, okay, this is one that I wrote the other day and I started reading on air and I realized I didn't have a second part to it, so I had to stop. So this one's kind of long. It's about which love triangle would you rather be in? So the first love triangle is a tech-savvy witch who uses magic to solve contemporary problems and a traditional fae who insists on ancient courtship rituals. Or the other love triangle is a romantic dilemma involving a time-traveling sorcerer who brings you artifacts and tales from the past, and a futuristic cyborg with a heart offering glimpses into high-tech utopia where emotions are cherished. That's a big one, huh?
Okay, so the first one is clearly like Witch and Fae, and number 2 is clearly Doctor Who. Yeah, this one is
I'm gonna put it in the chat, but I have to break it up because it only takes so many characters. Or be entangled. I started making another one like this, and I was like, "Oh man, this is just too much. I just need it."
It's really long. You know what? I'm gonna go with this one because I think peeks into an emotional utopia would just make me sad because I'm not in it.
Oh.
So,
but the sorcerer is a time traveler, so maybe he could take you guys to the future.
You have a good point here. Man, it's tough. It is the tough between like the epic lover and the Doctor Who lover, and it. I don't mind ritualistic things, although I guess I would want to see that on paper before I agreed to it.
I can understand that. So Elizabeth chose the second one. So that is the time-traveling sorcerer and the cyborg with a heart. And Elaine chose the witch and fae. But love triangles, yeah. And this was too hard. I started making another one of these. I was like, this is too long. I'm not going to do this again.
Yeah. Love triangles is probably one of my least favorite tropes, to be honest.
Yeah, me too. All right, next one. Would you rather be best friends with a genie who can't grant you any wishes, but offers invaluable wisdom and companionship, or have a distant genie acquaintance who grants you 3 extravagant wishes?
Ooh, I'd rather have a friend.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I write enough wish magic that I know what comes with it.
I did wonder when I said, that you can get these 3 extravagant wishes, if you're like, yeah, but those wishes come with conditions. And
they do. Everything comes with every magic comes with a cost. So
Yeah.
yeah, you could rather have a friend.
Yeah. Elaine also chooses the friend. All right. All right. This was not genie related, so it's just a different one. Would you rather wear a cloak that makes you invisible to your foes, but also to your lover or love interest, sorry, or a pair of boots that can take you anywhere in the world, but away from the one you love?
A cloak.
I
I
mean, either
mean,
way, you lose the person you love.
well, not necessarily. You're invisible. It doesn't mean you can't have physical contact.
Oh, that's true. But that might be like some non-consensual issues going on.
Or
Like,
and it also doesn't say that you can't hear each other. I mean, like if you think of Harry Potter with his cloak and he puts it on and he has to be like super duper quiet so he doesn't get caught in the library.
this could be really like horror, though. Really, I'd be like, "Hello, I love you." Like, who's talking to me?
Is this wait, did we go into a ghost paranormal romance here?
I think we just did. Okay, Rachel also says cloak and get a government job as a spy. True. Elaine says, LOL, it's like the movie Ghost. Oh, that's a better spin on it. Boom, financial stability. I think that was from one of the wishes, yeah. Oh, no, financial stability from the government job as a spy. So Elizabeth says the boots. It doesn't say you can't take the boots off after you leave your lover and then travel back to your lover. Oh, I love that.
Points.
Ooh, but you could probably do the same thing with the cloak, right?
Well, yeah. Wearable.
Yeah, both of them wearable. Hi, Margaret. How are you doing? Dropping in between research reading. Cool. Wonder what you're researching. All right. All right. Would you rather go on a quest to break a love curse with a wizard who's a bit clumsy with spells, or a warrior with a heart of gold but terrible sense of direction?
One.
Oh, really? I would go with the second one.
I also have a terrible sense of direction, so we would be in a lot of trouble. I
Gotcha.
went with the warrior.
See, I'm really clumsy, but I'm good with direction. So
There we go. There we
yeah.
go.
Rachel says terrible direction. Elaine says clumsy Richard or wizard.
Yeah, getting lost. The getting lost trope is nice.
Yeah. I love me getting lost with a lover. We can get lost together. All right. Oh, I also did some like I'm calling it just Monster Hunter, but from Carrie's book, you guys, there is the family, the Draconians, that they hunt down the genies and the djinn. So I just call it Monster Hunter here, but that's kind of what I had in mind when I made some of these. Would you rather live a life as a monster hunter in a contemporary city, facing urban fantasy creatures nightly, or lead a peaceful life in a magical realm with no monsters, but also no magic of your own?
Oh, I'm an urban fantasy girl.
You take the first one.
Yeah.
I think it would be hard to live in a magical realm and not have magic.
Yeah, you feel totally left out.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of how I've set up my world is that almost everybody is magical, but the Fae, they can't cross seasons and breed across seasons. But when they do, they create humans, which are the only like really non-magical, like higher life forms on the world. And so then dragons were created to protect the humans because they have no magic and everybody else is magical.
Aw, that's nice.
So, yeah, we wouldn't be in that position of having no magic. So I probably
The
go with the first one.
the Dark Sword trilogy has some of that in it, where everybody is magical and the main character is not, but he finds ways to trick people into thinking he has magic. You know, he
Huh.
does like sleight of the hand stuff, and
Yeah.
if he can't float up the stairs, then he pretends to be in a contest that he's racing somebody who's floating up the stairs, and he has to take the stairs. So it was like cleverly done.
Yeah, that is smart. I have not read that series. I have not heard of it before, so I have to look it up. Let's see. The Warrior, although I'm not best with directions either. That's from the last one. And then Elizabeth says peaceful life, so no monster hunting. Fantasy world and no magic for Elaine. Did you think up all of these? Yes, I spent a lot of time putting some brain power into these. I've actually thought about it since I put so much brain power into these. I used to do YouTube shorts, and I thought I should put these into YouTube shorts. So let's see. Peace, cozy living, or was it AI? I'm on the autism spectrum. That's how life is anyway. Me too, from Elizabeth. And ooh, metaphor. Elaine wins. Used to make fun shorts. That's what I was thinking. I was like, I put enough time into. I mean, I was up for a little while, putting time into thinking these through and like figuring it out. And I came up with some of the genie ones. Jen. All right, let's see. Okay. Would you rather fall in love with a Jen who can only be there? Sorry, who can only be with you for a short time each year in a contemporary setting, or have a long distance relationship with a Jen through magical means, never knowing when you'll truly meet?
I'm okay with number 2.
I kind of had the first when I developed the first part of it. I was thinking about 18 wishes.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, funny. My husband and I were long distance for a while because he's from Europe and I'm from here. So it's especially with magical means. There's a lot that you can still do to feel like you are close together, even if you are physically far apart. So I'm okay with number 2.
Okay. Margaret says those both suck. It's the second one. Why choose?
Yeah,
See,
that's
we've got
true.
time for a couple more of these.
We have some poly going on then.
Yeah. I'm trying to see where I left off with the. I think I'm going to skip a couple of these so that I can make sure I get all the genie ones in.
Yeah, we were long distance for a while and then got caught up in COVID. So we've had the best of both worlds.
Oh, that was nice.
Yeah.
My hubby and I were long distance for a while too. The first one, at least you have predictability in there and can communicate long distance. Yeah, I think I'd probably choose the first one too. Because I think, I mean, it's great when you first fall in love and you have the relationship going, and for the first couple of years, I think it's really good. And then after a while, you're like, I kind of want my space. I don't know. That's the way I feel. I might be an outlier. But he's kind of the same. He likes gaming and stuff, and that's not something I'm really into. So it works out.
Right.
All right.
I only watch the cutscenes.
Of what? Did I miss
His
something?
gaming.
Oh,
the gaming. I only show up for the cutscenes. He will call me into the room sometimes. Carrie, it's a cutscene.
Oh. Okay. I think
for the
he
story.
plays. Yeah, he plays online with people, and there's camera and stuff, and so I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not going over there.
Yeah, he plays RPG. So.
Gotcha. All right. Would you rather be trapped as a genie in a lamp for a century, with the power to observe the world but not interact, or live a single day as a human once every 10 years?
And
Again,
what do you do in the interim?
yeah. Well, I did have your book in mind again. Like if you only live
Okay.
as a human once every 10 years, then you're in that space of nothingness like Isra is.
I'd probably choose the once every 10 years because even though I am a hardcore introvert, I do still like to interact with people. And so it would be nice to have that break. And I would probably like, if it's the void, obviously I can't take books with me, but I would attempt to take books with me for all
We
that,
could think
the
of all
rest of
kinds
that
of
time.
stories.
Yeah,
I always think that with
that's
Israel.
true.
It's like, man, if you're stuck in there, you can come up with all these stories. And then, I see like words in my head. So I would start writing scenes and stuff in my head. And I would just do that over and over and over again.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, that's a great thing. No, I think she ruminates over how unfair life is. She's
Yeah,
in there.
I get that. Yeah. Let's see. The first one, at least you have predictability. Okay, no, I said that one already. Margaret says, what's a cutscene in RPG games? And yeah, I'll let you go ahead.
Yeah, so if a cutscene is the movie part of the game where you don't actually play, but you're watching the characters interact with each other and you're getting more of the story. So yeah, that's a cutscene.
Yeah. I mean, Final Fantasy, I've watched a lot of their cutscenes and I love the story, but then I start playing, I'm like, eh.
Yeah. So he plays for me and then I come in during the story.
Gotcha. There you go. All right, see, this one's a hard one, so that's the last one. Space of Nothingness reminds me of Fantasy Lover by Sherilyn Kenyon. Fans in the house? I think I've heard you talk about that book.
I do like Sherilyn Kenyon, but I have not read that one.
Fantasy Lover. Yeah, I think I've heard her talk about it, or maybe it's just another book by her. But I've heard the name before. The first one, as long as I can have stuff in there and communicate via throwing papers I've written out of the lamp, and others can throw papers they write back in my lamp. Ooh, well, I
That's
don't know if
clever.
yeah. I didn't know that was a thing in gaming, huh? Yeah, a lot of RPG games, they have like a really intense, and I remember thinking this is like a book, but but it's not quite film because you're getting pieces here and there, and then you see the adventure unfold. I don't know. I just remember thinking it was like a book years and years ago, even though that's just a movie. But the storyline is so in depth, and there's so much. Maybe that's why I was thinking it was a book, because in movies you don't get all that backstory, but you
Yeah,
do
because
get a
it's
lot of that.
hundreds of hours of playtime and
Yes.
movie time in the
Yeah.
book. So The Witcher started out, well, first it was a book and
It
then it
was
was a video game.
short
Yeah,
stories compiled
short
into a book.
stories,
Yeah.
right. And then it was made into a video game. And
No,
actually
it's a series.
I want to say Witcher 3 won awards for one of the storylines, was given like top story writing awards.
Oh,
And that one was really good. And we just did not Event Horizon. Um, Horizon Dawn or Dawn Horizon or something like that, with Aloy, who is actually a clone and no one knows she's a clone. So she's like ostracized from her community, which is here. and But it's like a hunter-gatherer society. But then she learns that because like she was cloned to be able to interact with the computers in order to fix the world that is breaking down now. So that was a really fun one to watch him play too.
huh. But you know that like lit RPG is like a really booming category now for writing.
My
And I
boys
remember,
love those books.
yeah, I've actually never read one, but I remember thinking that years ago. I was like, if someone put this into a book, it would sell. If they put the game into a book, because they put so much effort into creating this world and story and the magic systems or whatever it is. Whatever I usually like Zelda and Final Fantasy. So, but
I understand. Well, okay, you're done. Lit RPG is awesome. It is exactly that. It is the story going on, and then all of a sudden you see your character has lost stats for this reason,
yeah,
or he's in communication with somebody else, and it's like you lose because your charisma is lower. So it's D&D and gaming put together, and
put into a book.
it's really good.
Yeah, I have a good grasp of what it is. I just don't have time because I've been just reading all this other stuff right
No,
now.
that's
So.
fair. I haven't read it either, but my boys love it, so that's how I know about it.
Gotcha. Wonder if my kiddo would like it. He's just getting into gaming, but he likes Minecraft.
Oh, they have Minecraft books.
Yeah, he actually did get some from the library this past week. So I did not know that they had them, but they did have it. It looks almost like a graphic novel.
Mm-hmm.
So, I love the cutscenes. My hubby and I do the same thing. All my games are super cozy. My first Sherilyn left a big impression. Cozy games don't have as cool cutscenes as the big RPG games. Okay, back to books. Lovely to see. All right, bye, Margaret. I'll see you later. All right, let's do. I'm going to try and get through some of these that I came up with. Okay, so this one too, like she did talk about. Carrie talked about earlier when we talked about our books, where the djinn, they can hide themselves. It's illusion, but they can hide so people can't see them if they don't want them to. And I thought that was kind of cool, so I kind of played off of that idea with this one. So, would you rather have the power to see the true form of monsters hiding among humans? Which, by the way, the Jen and Genie, they're not always human form; they're monster forms too. But you can't reveal their presence to anyone, or be completely oblivious to the monsters, but live in blissful ignorance.
Don't we already live in blissful ignorance?
It might be, right? We've got Jen all around us.
I like knowing things, so I would probably pick one and do what I could to intervene if necessary. I feel this is kind of like it's fun. This is like an anime take on the question too. So yeah, that's a good one.
Elizabeth says, I would rather have the knowledge and then I can do something about it without telling people.
Yeah.
LOL. Blissful ignorance is definitely real life. Yeah, agree. All right. Would you rather be cursed with immortality by a genie living through, which by the way, they can't do. That's one of the things they can't give you. But in this case, we're gonna do it. Cursed with immortality by genie, living through ages without aging, but losing all you love, or live a normal human lifespan with the memory of an extraordinary magical love that once was.
Like in a previous life or in your current life?
It's a memory, so I'm thinking it's in the same life. Yeah.
Okay. I'd probably pick three. Number two sounds like Addie LaRue.
Elizabeth says, if I do something, people find out about it through my actions, then what's not telling them, is it? Oh, yeah, that's not telling them. Going back to the previous one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Workarounds. I love them.
Yep. That's the whole thing with the genies, right?
Yeah.
All right. Would you rather have a secret romance with a monster hunter who keeps the night safe in your urban neighborhood, risking danger at every turn, or a serene relationship with a retired monster hunter in a quiet, magical village?
What type of relationship with the first one?
Secret romance.
Oh yeah, I'll go with the secret romance danger one. I'm all like, yeah,
I don't know if I'm going too fast for chat. I got two more I want to ask you, and then we'll head into the
retired monster hunter. I have a lot of cozies in here.
yeah retired monster hunter. Yep. All right. Next, would you rather discover that your best friend is a djinn hiding in plain sight in the contemporary world, sworn never to use magic to influence your life, or find out your partner has a secret life as a monster hunter, protecting you from shadows you never knew existed?
Ooh, yeah. Probably one because it's which is like almost goes in the face of the one that I picked last time. It does go
Right.
in the face of
Right.
the one I picked last time. But like I'm thinking about my husband being a secret monster hunter. Like the first one is like I knew to the beginning from the beginning. But I was like, my current husband, I would freak the crap out, I think, if he came to me with
If
that
he was a
secret.
monster. Elizabeth said the first one, and she chose the secret romance from the last one. So, all right, last one. Would you rather fall in love with a djinn offering you the world but at a cost, or a human who offers nothing but unconditional love in a modern cityscape? One is cozy. And number two is cozy, but one of these is cozy.
Yeah. Probably like my literary answer is one. My real world answer is two.
There you go. That's why we like dark mafia romance, but only in books.
Yeah.
Um, all right. Lane says the Monster Hunter this time. Is that was from the last one, I think, or was that the? Yeah, that was the last one.
Human book scrap the city.
City. Yeah, I don't. That's the only thing that would get me would be the city part. But
That made the pause too. I have lived in the city and it's kind of nice, but it's also not.
and Lisbeth would choose the first one, fall in love with the djinn, because I don't enjoy living in a big city.
There you go.
Yeah. All righty, we are going to head into the sprint. I was just looking at chat. I didn't see any other questions that came up, but and then I believe that the sprint is a
Pick your own.
right. No prompt, so y'all can work on whatever you want to work on, writing, reading, whatever it is that you want to get done. So let me get this up here. If you guys have any questions for Carrie for CK Sorens, you please put them in the chat at any time. We'll come back and we'll wrap up, but we'll have time to answer any more questions that may pop up. And if you are ready, we'll get started. 3, 2, 1, and go. And that is time. How did everyone do? And well, I forgot to ask, what are we working on? I think the biggest thing, I didn't even know what I was going to work on. So I was like, what am I going to, and then I was like, I didn't ask. So what did you work on and how did you do?
So yeah, I'm working on a scene in my urban fantasy, and they're all hiding with magic, but they can't move.
Mm.
And my main character, her magic is actually tied to veil energy, and veil is the energy that separates our realm from other realms. And it's being attacked, and it was attacked in the previous chapter. And so while she's trying to hide, that connection causes her to have a very painful reaction. And
Mm.
so she just appeared, and she also ended up her mom was right next to her, so she also ended up giving away her mom. And yeah, so I got 502 words
Oh,
towards the
nice.
scene. Yeah, so
I opened my document and then got distracted by an email. And I don't know, you probably use BookFunnel or something similar like that. Yeah. So I also used Story Origin, and there was a reader, I guess, couldn't download, or she downloaded it, but she can't figure out how to get it onto her device, which Story Origin is the same with BookFunnel. They give you all the directions right there. But I was like, she emailed both me and the developer of Story Origin. So I just wrote back and I was like, okay, all the links work fine for me. So I'm not sure what to do from here. And then the developer came on, Evan Gow, and he was like, hey, I got this, Shannon, don't worry. I'm like, okay. But that distracted me. And after that, I was like, forget it. I'm not getting back in my writing. So
oh,
I answered more emails after that. Yeah, I have because my son, I've kind of just mentioned it to you, and people who know me in the chat know this, that my son's autistic, and his therapist said that she believes I have time anxiety. So when I see I don't have enough time to do something, and like, or time's counting down, so I have to stop, I start losing focus because of that time anxiety.
mm.
So
And yet you run sprints.
yeah, but what I found works for me is I do the Pomodoro method. So it's 25 minutes of time sprint and a 5-minute break. And it's strictly time. So I set up the video that I share has it strictly time. So 25-minute sprints, 5 minutes only to talk in between, go right back into the next sprint. And I think that really helps me. It's a like a routine, and that helps me get the ball
It
rolling, keep it going.
actually it actually matches. I'm a big psychology person. There's a lot of psychology in my books, but it matches flow state too. Flow state is anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes naturally when you naturally come out of it. And so it's nice to give that brain break a purpose.
Yeah.
And then it helps you get right back into flow for the next 20 to 30 minutes.
I think a lot of writers have like a psychology interest background. Like my bachelor's is in psychology,
Yeah.
but you're not the first one we've had on this month who's also has interest in psychology and or has a degree. So yeah,
Yep. Yeah. Mine is family and child development. So.
yeah. I wanted to go into research, which I did write for a grant in my undergraduate and got awarded the grant to run my own research. I had a faculty member who is my mentor, but my husband was military and he got orders suddenly. We were told we were staying there, and I applied to my PhD program, and we got orders suddenly to go to Hawaii. And I didn't apply to any colleges in Hawaii, so then I thought, well, you can't leave psychology and take a break. So I told him I was going to have to like work in the psychology field for free, like at the college, and he was like, he didn't understand that concept. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do something else in my life. And then I went to school. I got my master's in writing. So,
Oh, nice.
yeah, but
Well, then look at you now. It all worked out.
it did. All right, let's check in with the chat. Again, for those who are new to the chat here, I'm still having issues with StreamYard. I don't know if it's just me versus StreamYard thing, but it's not showing me any comments on the back end. So I can't bring up anybody's comments here. But Elaine said that she had to run out. And so I said goodbye. And she just had a video come out about, she's really good with graphic design and stuff like that. So it's about your cover. And if it's a good cover for your book, which I just came across this tool on Dale L. Roberts' channel, his podcast channel. It's free from ebook fairs. It's a cover grader, and you can put your cover in there, and it gives you like a grade, and it breaks it down like symmetry, color, like all this stuff. And I plugged in a lot of my book covers in there to try it out. So that was really cool.
Oh, that is cool.
Let's see. Martin came in. Hello. He says evening because he's in the UK, so he's in the future. We're in the past. And then, of course, Carrie was like, if you like to, drop in the chat what you're working on. I was like, dang, I forgot to do that.
No, it's fine. I didn't even think about it. It's something that we do in my writers group.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
So we have different, we call them prickles, which are writing events, and we have different ones. and one of them is called Heads Down. So if you come, it's not to chat at all. So some are to chat in the beginning and tell us what you're working on. So in the Heads Down, we put it in the chat. And so I figured that I would just bring that on over.
Well, in the sprints that I run and that other people here on YouTube that who run these sprints, we always say, "Hey, what you working on?" It's just part of what we do, but I just totally forgot to do it. That reminds me, though, your guys' method reminds me of a group. It's worldwide, but it's not in every city. And I only saw it when I was in Hawaii, and when we moved here to Florida, there was no group here. I could make one, but I don't have the time for it. But it's called Shut Up and Write, which is the same thing. You come together, but it's in person. You come together, you can talk at the beginning, talk about what you're working on, and then everyone shuts up and they write. And for a time period, nobody talks.
I've seen that for reading lately. I've seen that for reading lately, but I haven't seen it for writing. But that is really cool. That makes sense.
Yeah, and they're a worldwide organization. And I became friends with the girl that ran it in Hawaii. And she said all she did, she just reached out to them. And she was like, "Hey, I'd like to do that, bring that here to Honolulu." And they sent her promotional materials like in the mail and for her to put up on the tables wherever she wanted to set up at and stuff like that. And so they're pretty established, but there's nothing here like that. So of course, then COVID happened right after that, because I was Hawaii, and then we moved here. We moved here like 6 months before COVID happened. And so, yeah, she was like, "Yeah, what do you like about Florida?" I don't know. I didn't get out. But I'm introvert anyway, so I wouldn't have gone out too far. Let's see here. Angela said that she was working on extending a scene into a cliffhanger, so making the pickup point more exciting for the later chapter. It involves a mage and a horse working together, so it's kind of fun. That does sound fun. Did you get good progress on that?
No, is it a talking horse?
I was wondering, like, is it magical horse, or is the mage able to talk to the horse through their powers? Heather, hello. Thank you for coming by. I've been doing a bunch of admin things today, but I'm taking a break for lunch. Well, you got to take care of you. And Angela said, "Got enough done. Thanks for the sprints." Thank you. Well, we will wrap it up. If you guys have any last minute questions, I will check back here. And one last time after Carrie tells us what she's working on next and when it's going to come out.
Okay. Yeah, I am working on, I'm going back to my Trimark series. I do actually have more planned for my Jin novel, but like I said, that was kind of like a accident.
Yeah.
And I want to go back to what I started. And so I'm working on the third book. It is tricky. Like, this is my third attempt at it. I have thrown away an accumulative, like, 60,000 words. Nobody told me it gets harder to write a series the further you go. And I feel like I missed that memo at all my conferences. So that's what I'm working on. As for when it wants to come, I would love for it to come out next year, but I'm not going to. I'm also no stress. I have chronic illness. So I don't set my dates until I actually almost have a product. And so, but I would love for it to come out next year. And because I've had something published every year so far. This year it will be like a short story anthology, but it's at least something. And so it would be nice for me to be able to get this done and get it out next year.
Yeah, it's Amazon. I've noticed it kind of punishes you if you do not publish enough. So I did notice all I did was publish an anthology last year for most of the year. My sales just kept going down for my books. And then I thought I had a short novella that I made from the short story. And I thought, let me just go ahead and get this published now. Maybe that might help kickstart it so I can publish my next book and it won't, maybe be up there a little bit. But yes, I agree. My third book, I had a trilogy, my YA fantasy series. And that third book, I threw away a lot of words. I restarted that draft several times. It was like, man, I feel like I don't have too many choices because of where the storyline has been going. And I'm a discovery writer, so I like things to like kind of come out. I'm like, I can't discovery write the ending. I mean, I knew what the ending was going to be, but I can't discovery write my way there because I'll just throw in a new plot line, and I can't do that. I got to wrap this up. So my next series I'm doing, the first 3 books all happen at the same time, and their stories overlap a little bit. So all I have to do is just know those points where they overlap, and then I don't have to worry about being pigeonholed into anything. So,
that's nice.
But it is hard because you do have to know what's going on in the other stories.
Yeah.
So, but alrighty. So before we end the show, can you tell everyone where they can find you and when they can purchase your books?
So my website is my name. So it's www.cksorens.com. I'm most active on Instagram. and I'm slow start this year, but I usually post 3 to 5 times a week, and I have most of my conversations on Instagram. I would like to invite anybody who would like to try out my writers group. It's called Quill and Cup, and it's a woman-focused writers group. We focus on the mindset of writing, along with actually getting the words done, but also making sure that we take care of ourselves along the way. It's very important to us that we fill our cups before we start to pour out. So, and then I also have a newsletter that goes out twice a month that I'm going to start putting all of these deleted scenes that I have collected.
Oh,
I'm going to start sharing some of those in my newsletter in my second one in February.
okay. Yeah, I did read a little bit about your women's group there. That if I had more time, I would do it.
Yeah.
I just don't have a lot of time. I feel like there's 1,000 things. There's always 1,000 things you want to do as an author. Like, oh, I could be doing
Yeah.
that, but yeah, I can't do that right now.
Right.
But
What drew me to Quill and Cup is that it is $47 a month for full disclosure.
mm,
We have not only writing times though, but we also have speakers who come in and teach us, and that's free. That is part of your $47 a month. We've had Brad Stallberg come, we've had Becca Stein come, we
mm,
have Claire Taylor coming later this year,
okay.
although that's going to be for a virtual retreat, so that is an extra cost. We also have learned from Destiny Salter, who is an amazing coach in the industry, and so many others that their names are just not coming to head. And it's all part of the membership. And so I felt like it was especially as an introvert who does not like to go to conferences,
Yeah.
it was like a really good value for me. But I also understand just like it being one more thing to do.
Yeah.
So we do offer a free trial week for anybody who's interested.
I love Becca Syme. And so with the Clifton Strengths, it's high input. My number one's futuristic, but I think my input was like 3 or 4 on the list. But yeah, but I've been going to so many webinars and so many like classes and paid for so many courses. And there are things now that just have stacked up that I paid for that I haven't had time to consume. And so I told myself this year, I'm cutting back. I liked the input, but I have enough input that I've already paid for that I need to get through first before I do anything else.
It's like
So
a TBR.
yeah. Yeah. I am going to a conference though where Becca Syme and Claire Taylor are going to be speaking. I think that's with Brian Cohen's conference later this year.
Oh, that's
So,
exciting.
yeah. I've only been to one in-person conference just one time. I went to 20 Books at 50K 2 years ago. I
Me
thought about
too. We
going.
were there at the same time.
We just didn't see each other or know each other. That's cool. I thought about going this year, but they raised the price by $100. And I'm like,
Mm.
I liked 20 Books to 50K for the atmosphere, for the writers, but I didn't really feel like I got a whole lot out of the lectures, the seminars, because I am high input. I'm constantly taking in all this information. So I felt like it was all information that didn't really add more. So it was more for the atmosphere. And I thought, well, if nobody I know is going, I'm not going. And my girlfriend, she used to go every year, but she's like, I don't think I'm going this year. And then one of my friends and mentors, he's like, I don't think I'm going to go either. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to go.
Yeah,
But
no, same. It was a good value conference. I don't know what they're adding to for that extra $100.
yeah.
But no, I agree with you that the networking was the main draw
Yeah.
of that conference. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did enjoy that. And that's where like I didn't know what to put on my book cover because I had research book covers that my most recent book. I knew that if you look at like the K-Lytics reports for fantasy romance, it had like you had couples, you had just a single woman, you had a woman with the mythical beast or whatever beast it was that might be in it. And I was like, but then you also had what was really taking over last year were the covers that were just text, the pretty text. And so I was like, is that what you have? Yeah. Yeah. 18 wishes. Yeah. I do like your cover. And that's what was taking over last year or the year before when I went to 20 Books 50K. So I stopped by and I talked to like all the fantasy romance authors I could find. And then of course the last day when you had the book tables, everything, I talked to lots of them. And they're all like, if you have dragons, you put dragons on your cover.
Yes.
And I was like, oh,
Well,
okay.
the thing is that I got a Writer's Digest review for my book, and I did lose points for my cover because it didn't have any gin on it.
Oh. Oh.
So
I
there's
bet
a
you
good
could
point
work
of
that
reference.
in with the cover you have already. It could be like a
Mhm.
silhouette or something like that looks
Yeah.
like smoke almost. I bet you could do something like that. But
Yeah.
um, But yeah, so that's from going to the, I did take that away. It's like, okay, I guess I'm gonna have a dragon on my cover. So, but all right. Well, we've got everything in there. I don't see any more questions for you coming up here. And I'm glad that you did say, I meant to say that. I'm glad that you said that you're possibly looking at writing more in this world with the Jinn, because you have a very interesting magical system set up here, a whole world of these Jinn and Genie, that it would be a shame that's just one book.
No, yeah. No, I actually, you've read far enough. My next one I think is going to be Merum.
Oh, okay. She's an interesting
So
character, and she's
she
very
is.
powerful.
She's
So
very powerful. Merum likes to express her emotions in her shoes in particular.
yes, the
The more
stilettos.
angry she gets, the sharper they get.
Yep. Yep. So that is,
So
and I did pick that up. Like she was wearing something that looked like it fit in, I think, at the last scene with her, and then she all of a sudden just switched to stilettos. So,
yeah.
all right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, this was fun, and I'm glad I got a chance to chat with you. So, next on Charm Chats and Happily Ever After Sprints, that's tomorrow. We do have at 9 a.m. Central Time, 10 a.m. Eastern, guest author Anita Primrose. And I'm looking forward to that. And we'll see you guys all later. Bye.